some medicinal mushrooms or the winter mushrooms, we use the substrate, we completely autoclave it, completely make it sterilized, and then we inoculate the spawn to grow these substrates. So this is in brief about the substrate utilization. I have made it very, very simple, but the process is very, very, long process. For example, if you want to cultivate button mushroom, there are two methods of composting here, and rather three method I can say. One is the long method of composting, another one is the short method of composting, then the third is the total indoor composting. These three methods are there. Now we have the zero energy polytunnel also. Let us not discuss it because I think preliminary things we will address, and then if required we will discuss more. What happens in the long method of composting is entire composting process takes place in the open air. I mean, the compost raw materials are there, like wheat straw is there, poultry manure will be there, calcium sulfate and gypsum will be there, and calcium ammonium nitrate if available, or urea fertilizer to add, and then some wheat bran to add as a nitrogen supplement. And there are again different formulas, different proportion of ingredients depending on the area that you belong to, but more or less the pattern is like this. For every 1000 kg of wheat straw or paddy straw, you will mix around 350, 400, 450 kg of poultry manure, and 40, 50 kg of calcium sulfate split in 3 different stages. Because since this mushroom composting will take 1 month time, you cannot just say that I have mixed and kept it. No, it has to be made into a pile, and every 2 to 3 days you have to break the pile and recreate the pile. What is the necessity of this? In mushroom, we, other than hygiene, we say homogeneity is very important. So this compost basically, it has to be subjected to a huge temperature, rise in temperature, so that all the harmful molds and other bacteria and fungi, all these things gets killed. Unless and until there is a temperature inside the core of this pile or the compost pile, kill them. So we make this. Then the question comes, inside the core there is a huge temperature, but what about the compost that is there on the periphery of the pile? Therefore, in the next turning, usually what we do, the compost that is there on the other outside side, periphery, will go into the core part, and the core part compost will be exposed to the air. This will do one more advantage to you. What was having the aeration, the air contact, will be now undergoing the heat treatment. What has undergone heat treatment in the next turning will be exposed to the air, so that the ammonia that is generated, carbon dioxide that is generated within the compost, the chambers, all these facilities is in grow. So this is the one mushroom. The other simple mushroom, simple to cultivate and all these things are like pasteurized substrate. The substrate is taken. You can simply dip it in hot water for a few hours, and around 78, 80, 82 degrees Celsius, depending on the type of straw you have to use, and drain the excess water, simply mix the spawn, and it is very simple. Usually what happens, in mushroom cultivation, these things are there. Either we too simplify it, or we complicate it too much. Therefore, in between what happens, we are confusing the people. So therefore, this kind of right information is basically missing. Now, you might have seen often in the newspapers, invest in lakhs, earn in crores. Now, I say, come and take 1 lakh rupee from me and give me 1 crore rupees after whatever time you want to. So some of these stories, and some of the freelance journalists, against, I have very serious reservations. They simply write some stories, this mushroom grower is a crorepati, started in 5 years before, and now he's earning in crores, his turnover is in crores. I don't say there are no cases, there are cases, we can discuss empty number of cases. They are too much simplifying the entire cultivation, entire good practices of mushrooms. and then people end up burning their fingers in pursuing this as an entrepreneurship. So therefore, right type of understanding is very important. Then coming to the cropping, usually, now we are discussing about the spawn and the compost preparation. After the compost preparation, the spawning is done. Spawn run will happen. That means now the mushroom fungus will start colonizing within the compost or whatever material. Now we don't call it only compost, but for other mushrooms we call it as a substrate or any other synthetic logs in some cases. Then what happens for some mushrooms after complete colonization, you need to have a casing material. It's around 2 to 2.5 centimeter thick casing soil. Again, this has to be treated well, pasteurized. All these things are there. And this casing material is put over this compost. And in case of button mushroom, usually we maintain a very level field on the polythenes. And you fill it around 10 kg minimum bags. And one point I should mention in this particular stage, that composting in button mushroom, you cannot start with 2 tons or 1 ton or something like that. I mean, 1 ton is fine. Otherwise, there will not be sufficient buildup of temperature, and you cannot simply, practically you cannot produce. So therefore, this understanding is very, very important. What is the scale of the production that we must target to grow a particular mushroom? In case of oyster mushroom, obviously you have option for smaller scales, but for some commercial, we produce. So spawn run, the casing, and now after this, what happens? Usually I have mentioned how the mushrooms come in the nature is because of the combination of temperature and the carbon dioxide. If you observe, the temperature in the spawn run stage requirement is little higher in most of the mushrooms. And for spawn run, usually the temperature has to be lowered. Now there is a scientific reason behind this. Usually what happens, the mushrooms in the vegetative phase, at a higher temperature, they grow in a vegetative phase. I often take this joke, these most of the times in villages, these boys will be roaming. Usually elders, when they are not doing any job, simply eating, roaming, what the elders suggest is, get him married. Then what happens? He becomes responsible. This is the type of understanding we have. Similarly, for mushrooms, we arrange their marriage in the form of reduced temperature, or maybe usually what happens in the vegetative stage, CO2 buildup will be there. Rooms will be closed. CO2 concentration will be built up. And once you give the fresh air inside, once the temperature is reduced, usually what happens, this is a threat to the biological life cycle of the mushroom. And then mushroom anticipates some danger, and then it starts thinking about the repellence will trigger the biological life cycle, and then the mushrooms will be produced. Then the first flush comes, and then after harvesting of the first flush, you can wait. 1 more flush may come, 2 more flush may come also. Yeah, this is what I was telling. If you want to grow white button mushroom in a commercial scale, you need to have huge infrastructure. The compost yard you need to have, the cropping rooms fitted with air circulation ducts, the compost tunnels, the phase 1 and the phase 2 bunkers, with again air recirculation. This tunnel looks very, very simple in the photograph, but its design is very, very interesting. What you are seeing from one end, the other end, what you are seeing is actually the door. Say, for example, the exit door. From this door, I'm referring to the 4th picture, right side down corner. Usually what happens, the compost is filled here up to 5.5, 6 feet. On the top of it, 2.5 feet air will be left. If you are able to see there one duct above the door, there is a air recirculation duct. Air is sucked from there. It is pushed through the compost from the below. What you are not able to see is the perforated slab for the compost tunnel. It will be perforated, and its design is very, very tricky. So this recirculation, continuously air has to be recirculated. What is the advantage? What is the need of this when you are able to produce the compost in 1 month outside? Basically, this will hasten the composting process, one thing. Second thing, it will protect the environment. I mean, it will help in, it's a good practice rather. It will not liberate much of ammonia into the air. First phase of the composting will be done outside with 2 to 3 turnings. Then it will be put it in the phase 1 bunkers. And in the phase 2 bunkers, what happens is when the composting process is going on, ammonia liberates, and then this ammonia is recirculated within the compost. This ammonia gets converted into the edible protein for mushrooms. However, this advantage is not available in the long method of composting. So, but that's why it's investment oriented. And in order to replace this, in Directorate of Mushroom Research, we did experiments on zero energy polytunnel, a standby arrangement kind of a thing, jugaad jo hum bolte hain, whatever, local arrangement kind of a world. We tried. Reasonably, it has been able to replicate what usually happens in the pasteurization tunnels. So the rooms are, all these rooms are fitted with air recirculation duct again. So proper temperature maintenance will be done, CO2 maintenance will be done, humidity will be maintained. All these air recirculation ducts will be able to maintain the right kind of homogeneous conditions, and then most appropriate conditions. And then besides this, you need a lot of machineries. You may need JCB, you may need the front end loader, you may need many other things. That's why button mushroom is a very costly. These are the phase 1 bunkers. The same picture what you are able to see on the left side there. The phase 1 bunkers will be with active aeration also, fitted with some pumps, and then aeration will happen. And after this, the phase 2 bunkers, these are the pasteurization tunnels where you are able to see here. From the underground, there will be underground facility to install the motors and the pumps, and the air will be collected from the top exhaust thing. And then if you are able to see square is allowed to and continuously calculated like this. And I mean, these are 4 tunnels, that's a different thing, but all these tunnels, finally what happens is, again, there is a very specific temperature maintenance to be done here. Initially, you go on raising the temperature to kill all the harmful microflora, and then you maintain the temperature to bring stability or to promote the growth of certain beneficial microflora. So therefore, whatever the commercial buildings are there, like that they create with the help of these things. Only thing is there is no facility to give external humidity or something. So they manage it very, very beautifully. It's a beautiful case. Now, when they want to reduce the temperature, they open the doors. They have these doors actually. They open the doors in the night hours, and rest of the day they keep control. Sometimes what happens, sub-zero temperature will be there in North India. Those who have visited, you must have seen. So these temperatures are maintained through keeping sometimes some heaters. They put the bulbs, they put the charcoal and heat the rooms. Many innovations. They put boilers and boil the water inside the huts. So many challenging. That's what I want to overemphasize maybe. But then composting procedure, entirely long method, because such a huge scale of activity to produce it in small scale. Short method of composting, you need so many number of pasteurization tunnels and all these things. But their operation is worth seeing. You will be, only those who have seen can really understand how much big activity they are doing it. And these are some of the my personal experiences, which I think I have also presented these things in Indian farming. Wonderful. This is from Jammu and Kashmir. So even if they have, say for example, 5 small, hut also. Or this is the second picture on the top is usually, their wall of the house. Next to it, they erect these temporary structures, and this is how they prepare their compost, small scale compost. And in order to protect the high temperature, they have put these this grass on the tin sheets, and then they put the compost, mix the spawn, put again casing the mushrooms. But on the other extreme, see, these are Himachal Pradesh, means apple crates will be there. The left out apple crates will be filled with compost. Such a beautifully, erection. What they have done is one row of compost. Next gap. The second row is usually put using the first row. Like that they make it, and then very beautiful. They use their living rooms during the season, and they maybe in the hall or something like that. So it is a big economic activity in the North India. So these are just some of the cases just I wanted to. Yeah, this is the seasonal activity, and these are the controlled conditions growing rooms for button mushroom. This is how the composting is done. This is a small scale operation that I am showing. And seasonal cultivation, long method, zero error. This we will skip. Yeah, this is how the final mushrooms, they appear on the beds that have been laid out, hut cultivation method. And these are some of the pictures. This is how, initially the mushrooms looks after the picking up. The pickings are done, and they are sometimes washed, sometimes they are sent unwashed to the markets depending on the consumer demand. And then coming to the oyster mushroom, this mushroom is basically very easy to cultivate because raw material is now the one important thing again I must mention. Straw I have been telling, compost I have been telling, but this straw selection is a very important issue. It has to be completely dry. There should be no green part in it. There should not be any green, leftovers. It should not be more than 1 year old. It should not be exposed to air and, it should not be exposed to dust and rains. It should not have been inoculated with diseases or fungus. So that is why it is very important to succeed in mushroom cultivation. And this is how I have told already. There are 2-3 different methods of pasteurization, steam, or sometimes we use chemicals, sometimes for convenience. Otherwise, it is not advised. And sometimes we use hot water also. Simply put the straw in the hot water, then take it out and drain all the excess water, fill it in the polythene bags, mix it with a spawn. Again, spawning is done in either in thorough mixing of the spawn or layer spawn, all these things. Mostly in South, we are seeing the layer spawn, one layer of straw, pasteurized straw, then sprinkle the spawn, then another layer of pasteurized straw, then sprinkle the spawn. This is how the layered spawning is done. Otherwise, the thorough spawning is also practiced. Spot spawning can also be practiced. Yeah, there are the different varieties. This comes in different colors: white, gray, pink, yellow. The way, initially we were seeing only the small green capsicum. Now we are getting colorful capsicums: yellow capsicum, red capsicum, green capsicum, and then they are marketing it with combination of these. Like that, now mushrooms, this is a trend where they are marketing. Yeah, this is one innovation. This is one of our farmer in Punjab. When I was there in Directorate of Mushroom Research, we gave him Progressive Mushroom Grower Award. What he has done is, he has used the waste material from the vehicles or used the pumps. This basically he has used to pasteurize the substrate, and they are all his own innovations. You can see how he has done. And he takes the hot water and puts the fire below, and then the heating up of these coils will give the. We have seen these things in some other for some other purpose in some other scales, but this is outstanding use of innovation for some enterprises, entrepreneurship. Yeah, is another mushroom what they have done is they have simply, there is no stand here, there is no shelves here, there is no rack. Simply they have tied with threads, and they have made a platform, and then they have put a knot below it, then again leave some wire, then again make a knot, make a platform. In between these 3 or 4 threads you insert your bag. No need of shelf, no need of building, no need of construction. So these kind of entrepreneurship people are doing, and there is no much investment, simply a hut and then hanging ropes, and then intelligently hang your bags. So this is how it has been done. And one mushroom, the milky mushroom, which is becoming very popular because of its appearance, which is similar to the button mushroom, and suitable for growing in the tropical region, the hot climate. Otherwise, button mushroom is grown only in the temperate climate. It is not possible, but people prefer button mushroom. So just give an option, middle class people, or maybe recipe in the marriages and in social gatherings, social functions. So they are getting this kind of mushrooms. Usually the practice is this practice is mostly there in Tamil Nadu. I mean, we have seen in Tamil Nadu. Karnataka, they have tried this milky mushroom, but not like the Tamil Nadu model. We usually call it as a Tamil Nadu model only. They dig they excavate the earth, and then they create this. This is to help, build up of the humidity. And then, but they are taking many, and now we have seen some farmers in Tiruchirappalli and some regions we have seen, they are taking in shelves also. They are putting 2-3 shelves. Other commercial models are also there in milky mushroom. So this is how milky mushroom is one versatile mushroom, just like oyster, Pleurotus mushroom, like it can be grown on various substrates, coffee. But don't initially try, like only, we tried a case of peanut shells. It was successful, but finally, sustenance is very, very important. So therefore, starting with wheat straw, paddy straw is ideally good. Then you can mix if the raw material is very cheaply available. The problem is, people start doing research when they are doing the entrepreneurship. So we have to be very, very clear. Leave the research to the researchers. Take up it as an enterprise. Make it economically successful. And then you can always engage in other things. So the substrate chopping is done, usually the first stage, and then it has to be sterilized properly. And then I have explained about the spawn, and then these spawn will be inoculated, and the spawn running will take place in the 4th stage. And then we will, once the spawn run, what is the spawn run? Spawn run means the white mycelium you will see all over the polythene, visible from the outside, because these are transparent polythenes. You will be able to see thick matte formation, just like the milk cream will be there, like that it will be appearing. Once you are able to see that, then you will slightly disturb it and then put the casing soil, and then the mushrooms will start coming, and then you can harvest them. So this is the substrate selection part. Substrate pasteurization, I have told, either you can put it in hot water, 60 to 80 degrees Celsius for 2 hours. Chemical pasteurization, usually we don't recommend for in the interest of consumers' health. But once it was very, very popular in Karnataka. Wherever I saw only people using chemical sterilization techniques. In fact, it was started at DMR as an alternative, and then carbendazim and formaldehyde are used basically. Some precautionary measures can also be taken, but it's always wise to avoid. And then the steam pasteurization can also be done, I have discussed. And then finally the autoclaving of the whole material, though there are spawn bags here, can do that. So these are the farmers' practices where they put the straw, cover it, then put the fire below, increase the temperature of the thing, and then they do it. And these are some of the chambers that they have made. DMR also, we have certain chambers we tried. So such is one similar chamber where below there will be hot water, and you can also see a thermometer, temperature gauge just to monitor how much temperature is there. So these bags are usually resistant to heat, and then the heat must reach the core of the bags. So usually this is in both the hot water treatment and the chemical sterilization. You put it on the sieve and then take all the excess water out. Then mix the spawn. This is the case of thorough spawn, and you can put it in the cropping room conditions. And then these are some of the models of some of the growers that we have taken from Tamil Nadu. There are innovative farmers who have just added some gadgets to it, like hygro meters and then humidifiers. You have seen these things in marriage. When you enter marriage hall, some of the times they put perfume and they sprinkle this humidified air on you, just to ensure that you also smell very pleasantly in the marriage halls. So like that, the humidifier air will be pushed. Yeah, this is paddy straw mushroom, coastal area, very, very popular mushroom. Some of the people tried in the west coast, also in Mangalore and Udupi. Again, the issue of sustenance is there. But in Orissa and West Bengal, why it is popular is consumers are very aware. Very aware, and then this mushroom is the very tastiest of all. Maybe the taste differs with people to people, but I can tell it that this is very tastiest mushroom. But the only disadvantage with this mushroom is it is having very short shelf life. Immediately after harvesting, maybe within 5-6 hours or maximum 8-10 hours, you must be able to consume it. And the other unfortunate thing about this mushroom is it cannot be stored in refrigerators. Other mushrooms like button, milky, oyster, you can store them in refrigerated conditions. But this mushroom, you cannot store it in refrigerated conditions. So this mushroom cultivation is a very beautiful case study, and I think this is just similar to with respect to the passion, with respect to the amazing experience that it gives. It is not less to the experience that we have in North Indian button mushroom cultivation case. This mushroom is a wonder mushroom for India. And this is the only mushroom that can be grown outside the closed rooms. So how we can do is we can create an artificial ambient temperature and humidity. Since natural humidity will be there, these mushrooms. So you see how using the coconut and the banana plantations shade, they have used this kind of cages. Yeah, this is how the spawn preparation is done. All the discarded waters, the bottles, they use the spawn, they prepare the spawn in coastal Orissa, and they produce it. They cut the straw bundles in a very uniform size. They make these bundles first. I mean, usually the straw will come in bundles, and they cut it in uniform space. First, they lay one line by keeping 2 bamboo lines. They put these bamboo slices first, then they lay over one layer of wheat straw, put the spawn on the top of it, put some gram powder to act as an initial nourishment for the spawn, and then you cover it with another layer of the straw. Then again put one more layer of spawn and gram powder, and then put one more layer. Like that, you make up to 1.5 feet height, and cover it with the poly sheets, so that the carbon dioxide produced within this, because of the biological fungus, the carbon dioxide and the ammonia produced is trapped inside, and the temperature is also rising inside, so that the vegetative growth is sufficient. And then slightly you create some aeration facility, and then you get these mushrooms from the straw. This mushroom can also be cultivated indoor, but for time being I am not discussing on this, because This is a very, again, similar effort is required as what was required in case of button mushroom, maybe of lesser scale, but the nature of effort will be similar. Artificially created rooms, temperature, humidity, all these things will come with this. There are other potential mushrooms that most enterprising people can take up, but they require some more scientific understanding, especially on the autoclaves, handling of autoclaves, and temperature maintenance. These include one is the woodier mushroom, Auricularia polytricha, and the shiitake, that is the lentinulidodes. So these two mushrooms can be grown. This is the Pleurotus erangi mushroom, which I was telling in the beginning, the Kabul ingui. This is the current is similar to shike mushroom, but this mushroom is a very prized mushroom, very costly mushroom, very nutritious mushroom, and many a times it comes only in one floating body in a bag. So the cost will be little high. These are the winter mushrooms. Cultivation practice, again, developed and standardized at Directorate of Mushroom Research. This requires further less temperature, very peak winters in the North Indian states. This is one new mushroom, Macrocybin. No more new mushroom, Macrocybin giganteum. The mushroom in Solon, Hericium erinaceus. This is also a very tasty mushroom, and the biological efficiency and other things are an issue. Now, one important thing is the mushroom marketing, usually, very tricky issue. I think questions are there, we will take it in the question also. But mushroom marketing is issue because, we put so much effort into growing of mushrooms many times, the growers I'm referring to. And many times, without surveying the market, without finding the opportunities for market, they start producing mushrooms. And usually what happens, they must have attended one of such webinars, those who have started growing. And then they catch hold of the presenter of the webinar. Sir, grown some mushrooms, kindly help us to sell. So this becomes little difficult. That's why it's always wise to start with the market assessment and then start producing. And another thing is, there has to be some efforts on the marketing also. There are innovative methods that have tried to sell these mushrooms successfully, and they have their own methods. They catch, they put nice banners and advertisements displaying the health benefits of mushrooms. They visit the hospitals where these cancer patients are being treated. They visit the patients where doctors have regularly advised them to eat mushrooms. We found many innovative ways to market them, but they are very few because success also can go only to the few people. So it is just like that, and there are practical issues, practical situations, and we all have to. Yes, there are advances in the packaging. You must have seen in the market how these mushrooms are coming in the market. There are processing options. What if I have produced mushrooms and I am not able to sell? Yes, you can always go for drying of it, and you can also go for canning of it. You can also go to produce value-added products. There are pickles, there are nuggets, cookies, soup powders, ketchup, candy. Opportunities are huge in mushroom value addition. Opportunities are huge in mushroom processing. But the thing is, people want to become crorepathies only without becoming lakpathies. So this is the problem. You can always start at some level and then you can expand. So these are some of the products which we produced at Directorate of Mushroom Research. Mushroom biscuits. Mushroom biscuits means they are not just simply made of mushroom flour. If they are simply made of mushroom flour, you cannot eat them. So basically, they are biscuits only. It all depends. Depending on the consumer taste, whether you mix 5% of the flour, 8%, 10%, 12%, 15%. Those who are some bit higher mixing of this mushroom flour, mushroom powder, in the floor, and they can simple packs of mushroom soup powder, very healthy and very nutritious also, and some other products from Directorate of Mushroom Research. Some private entrepreneurs, this was from Hyderabad, long back we took, but in between they stopped, again they started. Then these are some of the other products, in different brand names. They are selling different products. So these are some of the opportunities that I wanted to present. And one more thing is the spent mushroom substrate, which I think some professors, assistant professors are here who must be working on these things. It has got huge opportunities, both for filtration, micro remediation, micropesticides are there. And then all these SMS, not our SMS that we usually send or receive. This SMS is a spent mushroom substrate, serves as organic matter for improving the soil texture, and it has found to help the chili yield. That's what one of the mushroom grower was telling to me when I was in Karnataka. And this vermicompost can also be used, and many soil-borne diseases can be controlled with the help of spent mushroom substrate. Many applications are there. I am just trying to put it simply. And biogas, slurry making, all these things. There are so many applications. So I think this was from my end. And if any questions are there, I'll be happy to answer.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
It was a nice presentation from you. It was very informative. Thank you very much. And you didn't discuss, but like I have a question regarding non-edible mushrooms.
Okay. Yeah, non-edible mushrooms.
I'm coming to that, sir. My question is, non-edible mushrooms are available in the wild, right? So for a common man, like how to differentiate between wild and edible mushroom, like, whether it is poisonous or not, like, it will be very difficult. It comes with experience, I know, but so many farmers, they ask this question. ಈಗ ಇದರಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ, ತೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಡಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಿಗ್ತದಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಐ ಟೆಲ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್, and there are some characters. Other than that, I want you to elaborate on this, sir.
See, wild mushroom is a wild mushroom, so
I know it contains poison, but like how to differentiate among them, whether it is edible or not. For a common man, it will be difficult, but are there any other ways which can be used?
Yeah, fine, Mr. Vikram, just let me respond. I'm just responding.
Yes,
so,
sir.
This wild mushrooms, basically